it really helped facilitate the conversation. Kudos to the team. What was really interesting is that we had never worked together before. You, myself, Javier. And so with the clarity and direction that you said, well, we have a very compressed timeline. And what is it that we specifically need with the timelines and who owns what? I know what I need. I need to translate what I need into things that are actionable. And the form that we did was super helpful, right? So the illustration brief, being able to understand what it is that you needed and what the ideation process was, right, for creating the artifact, made it very collaborative and very natural. And the timelines helped me stay accountable for my parts and also yours, especially with the 5 to 6 hour time difference that we had. The outcome was great. Music to my ears, because quite honestly, that's the whole point, right? Is to take what is technical or complex or things that we know, but others may not, and put it in a context that people can understand or relate to or have an emotion on, right? Which we said helped understand how we were going to present it, what the messaging was, to someone that knew nothing of this account, that it makes sense to just someone that walks up to it, because we know this content was not just for the customer that we had met with, but may also be communicated as an asset to others, right, that are stakeholders, so their managers or peers. And so it needed to communicate easily. Javier helped validate that in a very short amount of time. So kudos to the team. It resonated super well. The account team for Twilio was super happy. The customer was super engaged and loved all the homework and due diligence and the effort we put into it. And I can see that we need to do this more often. So the more intangible something is, right, and the harder it is to explain, because software is intangible, right? You can't touch it unless you create an experience around it. And it's hard to tell a story of its of why, right, or how to use something unless you have an understanding of the business of like, well, tell me what you do, right? And what was interesting is when we listened to requirements from, we need a meeting for this, and I say, okay, what are you trying to accomplish from this meeting? We're trying to create action. We're trying to create interest. We're trying to create a trusted partnership. Then we say, okay, this is actually a really good way of using different senses, right? And so the narrative is very much the visual aspect, but what's nice is when you use images instead of words, it helps it opens up a conversation. That's what we want. We want open conversation, discussions, rather than me telling you something from a PowerPoint slide that's all written text, right? That gets boring. If I can introduce audio, if I can introduce video or something that can be tactile, something interactive, to me, that helps reinforce to say that this is what we do. This is why we do it. But look how we could use this, or let's interact with it differently, so they can leave with a memory that says, oh, you know what, that Twilio meeting was amazing. And they really understood our business, and you could see it, right? That we listened, and that we were able to take what we listened and put it together in something visual like that, or interactive, or fun, not boring all the time. The favorite part was being able to see the idea I had in my mind manifest into like a tangible illustration, and just the excitement I saw from Javier, which got me excited, and then our excitement together, we're like, oh, let's get this done. Like, this is so cool. Like, being able to put this together, it really was validating. So like, it was just easy to work with Javier and yourself. You know, it's interesting because of the short amount of time we had, right? We had to be very specific, right? Which I think yielded really great results because we had clarity. People see value in this. Like, I have product teams now that's like, hey, we need like an infographic for IoT, right? For EV charging, or from creating moments that matter in general, which I love the title, by the way. Like, for me, moments that matter, it just kind of gives you empathy around it. Like, oh, tell me more about what that is. So I have it for healthcare. I have it for IoT technology, right? I have it for transportation and all of these type of engagements. Now, it's a great asset. It just accelerated the trust. It accelerated the conversation and having the customer stakeholder participate and really open up on, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? What if, if that, and so on. So it really helped facilitate the conversation. It demonstrated in a very concise way, in a very pleasant way, right? That we were actively listening, that we did some research about them, that we really wanted to understand their business. And it just facilitated the conversation because everyone was following along, right? So it's much better than a presentation through slides or PowerPoint or any of that, right? Because that's very scripted and linear. This is much more organic and can be fluid from one direction to backwards to, skipping ahead. And so to me, it's a much better way of presenting in the right audience and the right type of content. So from a business perspective, it just accelerates like call to action. It accelerates the need for follow-up, right? What to do next with much more clarity. Plus a visualization like this that illustrates the now and the first journey portion, the so on and so forth, almost like a curvy timeline, right? That could be super useful. I know that you create sometimes a recording of like the journey with the motion, stop motion, which I think would be really awesome to summarize, especially the annual event or multi-customer events in particular. Twilio being a software company, right? It's like I'm looking for ways to interact with the audience. So being able to have like the image behind you with a QR code that says, if you want to see this or interact with this or communicate about this with us, right? We can interact with this illustration in digital, online, and offline ways, right? And that's the beautiful thing. It's like, how can we collaborate more to kind of provide something very unique, I think, in the market, which is like not just one thing in one dimension. It's like 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions, right? Possibly 4. So if I look at visual, auditory, and tactile senses, like I'm always looking to say, how can I create experiences that transcend those 3, experiences that can transcend those 3 senses, Natalia, thank you so much.